This is an event that should have never happened.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. The Secret Service is under growing scrutiny as questions are still swirling about how the gunman on Saturday was able to get within reach of being able to shoot a former president. A spokesperson telling NBC News this, quote, the Secret Service worked with local law enforcement to maintain event security, including sniper teams poised on rooftops to identify and eliminate threats. But no officers were posted on the building used by the would-be assassin outside the event's security perimeter, but only about 148 yards from the stage, within range of a semi-automatic rifle, like the one the gunman carried. An investigation by the FBI is underway. Specialists are looking through the shooter's phone and electronic devices, as well as continuing to conduct interviews with witnesses and members of law enforcement. The FBI is also today raising the alarm over the potential for more danger and more violence. In a new joint bulletin with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI warns of possible retaliation. From that bulletin, quote, the FBI and DHS remain concerned about the potential for follow-on or retaliatory acts of violence following the attack, particularly given that individuals in some online communities have threatened, encouraged, or referenced acts of violence in response to the attempted assassination. Some individuals' reactions to politically and socially divisive topics have prompted violence in the past, and some individuals, including some domestic violent extremists, potentially will view political and social tensions as an opportunity to use or promote violence to further their ideological goals. Now, this bulletin did not mention any specific threats, but it did note this, quote, lone actors or domestic violent extremists operating in small cells likely will continue to view publicly accessible locations like political rallies and campaign events as attractive targets. We want to remind our viewers that we are juggling some big news stories, this one as well as President Joe Biden's near imminent remarks at the NAACP convention in Las Vegas. So we apologize ahead of time if we jump around between these two stories. The current threat environment after an attempted assassination of a former president is where we begin the hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends with us at the table. NBC News investigations correspondent Tom Winter. Also joining us, national investigative reporter for The Washington Post, Carol Leonnig, is back with us. And former FBI counterintelligence agent Pete Strzok is here. The Reverend Al Sharpton also standing by. Tom, I've watched you since the immediate aftermath of this horrific act of political violence. Tell me what the latest is.
Well, the latest is that they're running into a little bit of a wall at the moment. That's not, I think, as a result of the hard work of the FBI, which appears by all accounts to be moving as fast as possible to develop a couple of different things that are going on. So one, trying to determine the how the shooter was able to do this. That has two components as I see it right now. It's the where did he get his ammo? What was he doing in the days leading up to this, and where were his travels and all of that to try to piece together any clues and derive new information off of that. The other how is how did this go down on Saturday? So it's a reporting of Stephanie Goss. She just did an interview with one of the local township managers there in Butler County in talking to him about what police officers did that day. Those police officers, according to him, are scheduled to sit down and talk with the FBI today and tomorrow. So that's a bit of an indication that they want to know exactly what was going on at the time. And the FBI has already said, look, we're going to develop an extensive timeline here, and we're going to put a timeline together about what was happening on the ground, not just what the shooter was doing, 5 days ago, 10 days ago, that type of thing. So that's column one. Column two, trying to derive anything off of his electronic devices. Now, they were able to get into his phone. They were able to get in the other devices, as best we've been told. A preliminary review. Have they looked at every file? They have not looked at every file, but a preliminary review. And they have a real good system for putting this together. It's structured. This is how we're going to initially do it. They have all sorts of software they can throw at this. Has not yielded anything new in terms of motive. And so I think when you look at this, you say, well, obviously he had something with Donald Trump, and that's why he fired at him. But as we've seen with other assassinations in the past, sometimes the motive or the professed motive has nothing to do with that particular politician. The Reagan shooting is a good example. So, and in some instances, unfortunately, we never get a motive. Stephen Paddock, who shot at a country music concert in Las Vegas, the worst mass shooting in modern American history. So putting it all together today, Nicole, I think there's still work to be done on the motive side, but it's difficult because he hasn't left anything behind. He didn't leave a manifesto behind, as best as anybody's found. Almost no social media presence for a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, an 80-year-old, doesn't matter. Everybody's got a social media presence. This individual appears to have almost none. So that's something that is different, odd perhaps, about this person. So that takes care of the investigation into Crooks. Then there's the ongoing reporting that's being done, the new information that's coming out on timeline with respect to the United States Secret Service and law enforcement on the ground. And how did we get to a point where this individual was able to get on a roof, be on there for several seconds, 90 seconds, a minute, whatever video you happen to look at, and fire 8 shots, we're told, at the former president of the United States and now the Republican nominee. And that's raising serious questions. The latest reporting, again, going back to Stephanie's interview, 4 law enforcement officers were dispatched to that location. And this building where he was on top of was the kind of the hub for local law enforcement, or at least a counter sniper team. He's on top of that building. This officer is pushed up by his other officers to look at him. He turns around his sniper rifle at that officer. He's holding out with both hands to the roof. He comes down. We've been looking at these videos. He comes down, falls 8 feet, according to the township manager. And then they get on the radio, and they have a security event radio for this. And that is the next step in this story, which is who was told what and when. You've got a police officer on the radio, according to this interview, if this is accurate, saying, you've got a problem. You've got somebody with a gun on the roof. Were the Secret Service counter sniper teams made aware? Was anybody else on the ground made aware? Was the Secret Service team close to Trump made aware to say, we've got a guy on a roof with a gun. Get him off the stage. We'll figure it out later. What's the worst that happens? We're wrong, and Trump delays his speech for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't think anybody here would be second-guessing that today. So these are all the questions that we're asking, that we're trying to get a handle on. And, of course, you know, this could all change. It's still a little bit of fog of war.
Carol Leonnig, your wisdom, your thoughts. You've written books about the Secret Service. You're following the story. Or if you just have more questions than answers, your thoughts.
Well, I first want to give a shout out to the amazing reporters that I work with at the Washington Post. In the last couple of days, they've answered some of those questions definitively with me, and I'm so honored to work with them. One thing we know, which is sort of just gobsmacking, is that this building, 140 plus yards away from a bullseye on Donald Trump's chin or temple, was not posted. In other words, it was not secured with a police officer on top of it, and it wasn't secured properly on either side, according to law enforcement sources who've spoken to us. The other thing that's, I can't help but share what one law enforcement official shared with me, which is, you know, ma'am, this building is a place where your grandmother could have shot Donald Trump. It's that close. And it's the principal place that you would want to be making sure everything was okay. Today, my colleagues and I wrote a story and posted it on our Washington Post website, reporting that the counter sniper units that were supposed to be helping the Secret Service and were assigned to help look over the back of the crowd and were outside of the perimeter were actually inside the AGR building, a part of that AGR complex. They were inside it while the gunman was on a roof of one of the adjacent buildings. And essentially, they were in a second floor inside rather than where counter snipers usually are, outside looking at higher ground to figure out what's the problem here. The man who got onto the roof, Matthew Crooks, my colleagues and I have been reporting, had been able to fight off by pointing his weapon at a police officer who hoisted himself onto that roof. My colleague Isaac Stanley Becker reported that on Sunday about how that officer, without a gun in his hand, but trying to chase down reports of those bystanders, found the gunman and then had to drop when he didn't have any protection for himself and had the gun pointed at him. We also learned that 86 seconds after that, shots were fired. That is from the Washington Post's video reconstruction of the events. You know what's so amazing to me about this whole moment is the line of sight is Secret Service 101, Nicole, and it is just basic ever since 1963 when Kennedy was killed. And to have that still be a problem in this field in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2024 is something the Secret Service is really going to have to deal with.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.